Welcome to another Gamma Partner Artist feature interview. Today we speak with Dyle. Dyle has a long history with us at Gamma, starting dropping work with us all the way back when we were stxnft.com. He's created his own software, which enables him to be creative and make the art that he loves, both still and animated. We go through this process, his inspirations, and more. I think you're going to enjoy this discussion. Okay, so it's a real pleasure to have another Gamma Partner Artist feature interview. Today we are speaking with Dyle. I'm very excited to speak with Dyle. Dyle and Gamma, we go back all the way to then, all the way back to 2021. So it's been an amazing journey. It's brilliant to see him creating, putting art out on many ecosystems, but with us at Stacks and now with us on Bitcoin. But enough from me. I'd love for you, Dyle, to introduce yourself. Tell us about you as a person, as a creator, where this whole journey started. Go for it.
Hi, so I'm Dyle. I'm a visual artist. I've been doing digital, as we call them today, digital artifacts or NFTs since November 21. The story is quite long before that. I've been doing visual art for, I guess, from mid year 2000. The story starts with photography. I studied photography. It was the first. I tried, as most of artists do. I tried a few different things, but it was the photography which clicked suddenly. Then I studied the subject, but soon after graduating, I just lost the will to continue with photography, and I started making live visuals. At the time, I was doing it using slide projectors, Kodak carousels, and I was doing it live on stage, mixing images from several slide projectors, but soon became interested in computers and started using computers, using software, commercial software, but soon became, more and more into computers and into live video, and started thinking about creating something different. And at the time, the most accessible was Macromedia Flash. So I started making short animations in Flash, but was really interested in combining it with sound. Not combining, triggering visuals with sound. But at the time, there was no software which would do that. So I started thinking of creating my own. Maybe not straight away creating my own. First, I started adding some scripts into keyframes of the animations. It was simple. It was about adding simple commands like stop or jump when the microphone volume hits 50%. That's how I started programming. I started, learning more and more about scripting. It was, I think, it's not Flash anymore, but the software still uses ActionScript as programming language. I started adding more and more and more, then became, ever fascinated with code, and I followed the trend to create Flash animations just with code, no graphics, nothing. And it was the point when I became a programmer. This led to create my own software for vector graphics, which I then started using on stage, testing and developing at the same time. But I had a lot of problems with this software because Flash wasn't really designed to use live for in real time interactivity, especially with sound. The latency was quite significant, and also the Flash was really heavy processing wise. So soon I switched to different programming language, which is called Pure Data. And this is different story. This is raster graphics, OpenGL, and this is something I use today to make NFTs. But yeah, as soon as I started programming with Pure Data, I again created software with parts being taken from the previous software, and well, I was using it for over 10 years, doing live visuals on stage for gigs, festivals, and this was until the pandemic. Obviously, pandemic killed it completely. But just before the pandemic, actually, I started saving screenshots, started saving stills, and this was something I was really. I was really into something. It was for me opportunity to become completely independent artist, because when you do live visuals for music, you always collaborate, and video on stage is just part of it, which means compromise very often. Compromise also, but also not being able to express yourself fully, because you do video for music, so you follow the music and kind of your artistic part is has to be, a bit, in the background. So I kind of, when I started just creating, saving screens out of my software and editing them after, it became, I felt freedom. Because then it was just this. I didn't have to. Also, with all the years I spent on stage, it was a lot of effort was to do with syncing visuals with audio. So while doing it live on stage with software, which is quite, it was quite difficult to control, because I can talk about it later. I created it to be uncontrollable. Anyway, so in live environment, it was, the art was only small fraction. The rest was technology, interactivity, and looking after, making sure the whole show is works together. So with this, with saving the stills, it was sudden complete freedom. But at the time, maybe there was no NFTs, that there was no subject at all, or I didn't know. So I was like, yeah, but what am I supposed to do with it? I was like, maybe print it, but it was completely something which felt like starting completely new career, talking to galleries, and I didn't do anything about it. It was just, I started, I think I had like 30 images, and it just, I didn't know what to do with it. And then, by the end of the lockdowns, I saw something online, got interested. The artworks were very similar to what I was doing, and then had NFTs. And lucky me, I've got friends at work who were, since I remember, into Bitcoin, and I just asked them, and then they said, "Oh, talk to Jim," and yeah, that's how it started. The same evening, I sat with Jim on Zoom, and he set up a wallet for me, and we published first Boom NFT. I think the price was 1 Stacks. I think I sold it the same evening, and I was amazed. Like, it was so easy, and yeah, and it was extremely emotional, because for me it was something completely unknown. But having Jim, telling me what to do, he sent me 10 stacks to start, and next day I sent it back. So that was Stacks. That's how I started making NFTs. That's the story.
That's quite the origin story. I didn't realize that it was actually through connection with Jim from This Is Number One. We can talk about that after. I'm curious, just to touch back on that point, that you used to create visuals for gigs and for music, and the fact that had to be quite determined or controlled, and then getting into your own work where you then get the creative control and to select what the art looks like and the outputs and whatnot. Tell us a little bit about that process. You did mention before about how you have to sort of discuss how creating for yourself versus creating for someone else is quite a different experience.
First, it's I think first difference, and why it suddenly became so much enjoyable, is that doing it live. So the software I created is a I call it a digital video synthesizer. So it generates a stream of video, which in real time, and there is no presets, there is no footage. Everything is generated by algorithms, and because for live show, it was my dream. That's how it started. My dream was to have a tool which generates video without me having to prep anything. So, and that's what the software became. But because of that, sometimes it was extremely stressful to perform live, because I had to, every show, I had to create everything from scratch. So first minutes of the show was like super stressful, because then when I had to come up with something. And now to compare it with this room where we are in my workshop, I can spend as long as I want, finding this something interesting in the software. It's because the software is like, listening to radio waves. It's like waiting, adjusting parameters, changing things, and just waiting for something to happen. So here I can, because the software uses, uses a lot of random functions, random algorithms. Sometimes it creates ugly things, but obviously here I can just press stop and do not record them and wait and do something, change the settings, and until it's again something interesting. So this is, working in this room is just pure joy, pure creativity. I can pick stuff and even later edit it, and then, show it when I'm ready, not when not now, live. So that's the joy. And then I still use sound to trigger, because sound does everything in this software. It is the engine. But obviously I never publish it with sound, so I can play anything. It doesn't have to be even synced with sound anymore. It's just triggered. It's just the fuel behind. So there is not much even technology, because in the meantime, during the lockdowns, I managed to finish the software, which my friends were saying they did not believe I would ever even attempt to finish it. It was whenever it was ready, next month I would I would break it. So yeah, since actually just before I started making NFTs, the software became ready. So when I heard the term NFT, I had everything I always wanted, and suddenly I could divert it a bit, and suddenly I could become again artist, because for 20 years of making visuals, I was more a programmer rather than artist. I would do gigs mostly to test the software. This was my aim. It's just to see if it works or not. So obviously I tried to create art at the same time, but it wasn't the main thing.
I see. And what's the process like of then curating your own work and finding stills, or you do animated stuff as well, so we can touch on that. But let's talk about when you take like a freeze frame or a still of your outputs. How do you, or what's the process behind deciding what you feel is something you'd like to put out to the public or not? How's that process for you?
It can be something simple. It can be just interesting pattern. because obviously what I do is there's a lot of patterns. So sometimes it's just a pattern. Like obviously my stuff is very inspired by Bauhaus, concrete art, early abstract art. So sometimes it can be just good pattern, simple, squares and lines. Sometimes I see more. I see. I like to see landscapes or seascapes. I find it quite. Sometimes it can be very powerful. It's very simple, but I kind of like the landscape as a genre, art genre, because it's so traditional. Obviously, what I do is nothing like traditional, but then I like, the contrast between, harsh pixel art and while preserving golden aspect ratio and landscape. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Let's have a look at one of your collections that you have put out onto Bitcoin, which you named Originals. And you can talk us through it and talk us through the process of selecting. You can see this one is still, and there's a mix of animated, and how you get to the point where you create it and then pick the output and then, decide on that's what you'd like to get onto Bitcoin or whatever chain you're working on and put out as a piece of art.
So the two animations we see on top, they are actually literally, there is no editing done. It's just, this was a stream of, for example, an hour of video, and I just pick beginning and the end, and then I try to keep it as short as possible, especially now with ordinals. This is every frame cost. So the task is literally to use as little frames as possible to have the expression. And I like not to edit them. I like, I quite like stuff which is done by the computer, by the software. Obviously it's not that simple because I created the software, so it's not, you cannot say that it's just random stuff from the screen. But I like the complete, I like to see on the screen something I would never come up myself. But then it resonates with me, so it means that there's something from me there. Yes, with stills I tend to edit them because I'm quite attached to composition. So with the software, I haven't managed to make the software to follow composition. I find it impossible or very difficult algorithm to create. So with stills, with animation, still composition doesn't matter that much because I can pick, more frames which then balance the previous ones. While with still image, if it's unbalanced, it's unbalanced. I have to do something about it. So I often add something, for example, a letter or number. This is the main purpose of adding, apart from historical, early, early 20th century art, beginning from Cubism. Artists were using letters and numbers as a part of abstract image. So I just follow the tradition, but mainly I use it to fix composition. Yeah.
There you go. And let's have a look at the art that you've put out as a partner artist. These are your prints. So we'll pull them up. And I've always really enjoyed the choices that you've made for the naming of your artwork. I feel like you must put a lot of, I don't know, thought, or you must have some sort of process behind it. You can see one, some of them have written names like a level above chronology or no dead matter there is, but then I feel like when I see this, it reminds me of you when you use these numbers. What's the story behind that? Can you enlighten us?
So numbers. The story with naming is that my very earliest NFTs had just numbers, and then at some point I started adding DYLE at the beginning. I think just to put my name on it. Just to sign it. But it was also because I literally since the day one of in mid-November 21, I having this software ready. I just basically in the first year I created 800 pieces or collections. I was producing tons of art for the first time in my life, really, like finished pieces of artwork. It was, as you hear the story, few things line up together to then in November 21 just to blow suddenly. So the naming was to get organized, because I was creating so much. I'm also kind of attached. I still do it today. I catalog everything. I've got my blog. It's not up to date at the moment, because it's basically it requires a lot of time, which I don't have. So I need to come up with a solution for it. But yeah, numbers were to keep them, on my computer and know where things are. But also to run away from putting names, because at the beginning I wasn't keen to add any additional meaning. Only later, year or two later, people were saying, "Oh, what about if you add name?" I was like, "No." But then something happened in my private life. I became a lot of artworks were inspired by real events, and they were celebrating moments, and then I think I wanted to remember as much as I could in the future. So then titles became important. And then people started saying, "Oh, we can read the images completely differently, which it adds a lot." So so nowadays I name a lot of artworks, not all of them. Sometimes I just don't feel, and if I don't feel, I don't name it. I don't. But yeah, sometimes it is true. Especially with abstract art, it adds a lot. It can put someone's mind in in a direction.
And that's really interesting. Do you think that some artists want to, I guess, give the meaning or the background, or perhaps ensure that the collector or the viewer perceives something in a certain way, and others want to let the viewer or the collector perceive it in their own way? Where do you sit on the side of the fact that if you name it, you might make somebody look at a piece of art in a certain way versus if you don't? And then you mentioned before that sometimes you just pick it purely on aesthetics, but it seems like now, or with some of your pieces, there is real life meaning or story behind it. That must be a curious thing for you to think through.
Well, even if I give the names, they still hugely abstract. So I think the worst would be to narrow the artwork and give it too much exact meaning. Yeah, it's a difficult task because it's like with being a doctor. You try not to harm. So the same with giving names. You too much would be giving too much is could be harmful for the artwork itself.
Interesting. And then speaking of numbers, but in a different way, I've noticed with your prints, for example, you've kept the collections quite small, so maybe limited, like 15 or 20. I think maybe there might be one which was 33 from memory. Where do you sit on the spectrum of scarcity versus just putting lots of art out there? Do you have a viewpoint on that, I guess, in general, but then from yourself as an artist?
Because I create a lot, I think creating large amount of prints wouldn't be just wise. Obviously, each recent amount of prints is dictated by what I see what happened. Obviously, with my last two collections, which are now sold out, I just wanted them to be sold quickly, and literally the second collection, the second last collection, I put 15 just because I sold 15 of at the time I sold 15 of the previous one. So I thought, let's go with 15. Looks like this is amount of prints I can sell without waiting too long.
No, it makes sense. And let's take quite a jump back in time. Let's have a look at your Dyle 1 collection, which, speaking of, you released it with this as number one. So Jim and Dash and the team there, Jim, who got you into the whole NFT space. That must have been a really kind of fun thing to do, to work with him to put a collection out. Tell us about this collection and working with Jim and the This Is Number One guys, and I get to how that experience was.
So this is I very much like this collection. This was actually sometimes the software I created. I use a lot of tons of algorithms created by myself, but I also use early very old video effects. And this one is I use specially for this collection. It's not part of my software. I just altered the software for the collection. It's a kaleidoscope effect, where you multiply that part of the image and then create circular shapes with it. But because I use the video effects, I also use stuff like emboss. Really stuff we almost forgot about. But because I applied them to extremely low resolution, they look different. They look the same as we remember them. So yeah, and that's how the collection was created. It was it was one of the peaking moments in my NFT careers. The collection was so first collection. It was, I think, large, 117 pieces, and it was sold within 2 hours. Obviously, Jim's and Dash skills helped a lot to make it happen. But yeah, it was everything was right, and everything, all the components of good collection were met, and that's why it happened.
And before we look at an even older collection, did you select 117 items in the collection for any reason? I like it. It's a nice sort of random prime number. Do you think like that when you're deciding collection size?
It wasn't. I think it was completely. I think I just found 117 images out of the whole recording. I think there was nothing, no thought behind it. Sometimes there's there's pure randomness. I love randomness, so sometimes I go with something completely random.
Totally. I guess there's me looking at it through a very mathematical lens. It's interesting how the observer, regardless if they're looking at the art or the collection size, kind of uses their own history to sort of perceive and view things as they like. And there you go. That's an example of it. And let's look at It Will Not Be Televised. From memory, correct me if I'm wrong, this was the first collection that you put out with us at Gamma, I think after you put out the Boom NFTs, so your really early days in Stacks. I remember collecting one of these and then meeting you in our Discord, and then you being very grateful, and it was the first moment where I was like, it's so nice to be able to connect with an artist in that way and collect something, and not that you collect or receive gratitude or anything, but just like, yeah, it was my first sort of step in going, hey, there's something here. This was pre me working for Gamma and Stacks NFT. Who knows, part of the story of my springboard to ending up working there. But yeah, tell us a little bit about this collection, and if you can go that far back and remember, yeah, what went into this, and how do you feel about this collection now?
I think it was the only until now the only collection where I used symbol of the cryptocurrency. I think I used I created one or two more. I think actually it was part of Gamma collections. So I'd rather avoid doing so. I just would like my artwork to be completely independent. But this was the moment I wanted to express my gratitude to, because it all started with Stacks, and my friends, including Jim, but not only. There's few more friends of mine from real life who are quite active within Stacks community. So it was, I think, expression of the great moment we had, and I had, and gratitude to what happened to me. It was, something that there is something about Stacks, kind of level of connection and community, which I really enjoy. Ordinals, sadly, a bit, I think, stopped it a bit. Obviously, lots of people, including me, went to ordinals, and suddenly, Stacks community became quiet. But I hope it will come back, because it was great moment of small community, but very well connected and well supporting each other.
Yeah, it's been interesting, I suppose, without going too far into that a lot of the Gamma community, which was early Stacks community, has stuck together and built on Bitcoin and still exists and has just kind of adapted and evolved as the space has progressed. But who knows where we'll go? I still love Stacks and think it has a lot of potential in its interrelationship with Bitcoin. And a lot of our partner artists, including yourself, were early artists who were dropping with us back in the day. So it's been brilliant to go on the journey with them. So speaking of journey, tell me what are you thinking about 2024? It's a new year. We're a year into ordinals now. Do you think ahead, or do you create in the short term? What's on the roadmap, so to speak, for Dyle this year?
So what you that the ordinals you see, that the NFTs you see published is only small fraction of what I do on daily basis to do with NFTs, because of having the software. I'm kind of it's such a precious thing for me, and I'm trying to preserve it. So knowing I'm trying not to do programming anymore. So my way of preserving is to install the software on as many machines as possible. And it's not just only that. So it's the software. At some point, while creating the software, I found that the perfect computer model, which is now like 13 years old. So nowadays, I buy this on eBay very cheaply, and alter it, because the software runs on customized Linux system, and also on customized hardware. So I spent a lot of time soldering and putting together, building the systems like this one. This is one of my cases. It's got 3 computers inside and some additional hardware for sound processing. So I spent a lot of time building stuff. Cataloging, so this is on my list. I need to do something about the blog. I'm thinking about giving it to someone, just because time is a problem. I obviously, not obviously, I work full time. I work also freelance to do with my job, and then on top I do NFTs. So but I'm about to record something new. So hopefully within a few days I will have new material. and then obviously quickly I will try to publish it. I tend to publish it straight away if I can. I'm so excited and so addicted to have the feedback straight away. This is something also interesting thing which is different between now and the past. In the past, I would do. It was never my day job doing live visuals, so it was I would do few gigs per year, and then I would have the feedback or not. So I would have, I would hear from people maybe twice, 3 times a year from few people. Now I can publish it, and I've got feedback straight away from everyone. And this is for an artist. This is a lot to have this feedback and connection straight away and being seen. This is also it's the best stage ever. It's digital world we live in is for an artist. It's very important. And then being the artwork being sold. This is another confirmation of the quality of what you do. It's another level of checking. Am I good artist or not? Am I interesting? Am I valuable? Because obviously with cryptocurrency, it's huge part of the value of the investment. Am I worth investment? This is very interesting. This is obviously new, but it became a big part of my life.
Well, I can tell you that, and I can assure you that you are valued. Everyone, we love what you do. We're so glad you dropped work at Gamma. People are paying Bitcoin and Stacks for your work. People are pressing confirm and, getting your work in their wallets and their online digital galleries. So we're so glad that you are a Gamma partner artist, and we wish you all the best in anything that you put out, whether it's with us or not. And yeah, thank you so much for this discussion. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm glad we've finally been able to connect in this way. I own quite a few of your pieces, so I'll be holding on to them. And thank you so much, Dyle.
Thank you very much for having me.